return after this.
Hertz has the night off. Well, South Dakota Governor Bill Janklow took to the airwaves tonight to make an unusual plea. On South Dakota Public Television tonight, Janklow asked us to open our homes and adopt more than 700 children living in state custody.
The government can put a roof over a child's head. We can put food in their mouth. We can take care of their medical needs. We can send them to school, and we can put clothes on their back. But government has no emotions. We can't love, we can't hug, we can't smell, we can't touch, we can't relate to human beings.
All 719 children are in state custody because they've been the victims of abuse or neglect. The governor also urged people to consider becoming foster parents, or if that's not possible, take time to befriend and work as a role model for a child. According to Janklow, most of these children need a permanent home and love to grow into responsible adults. Meantime, while Governor Janklow is asking for more adoptive parents, he's also asking for less state vehicles. Janklow plans to cut the state's vehicle fleet by 600 cars in the next year, while at the same time consolidating vehicle management into one office. Right now, state-owned cars are scattered throughout different departments, making it hard for management to keep track of maintenance and insurance costs. But starting next week, the Fleet and Travel Management Office in Pierre will take charge.
I think we'll get the support from fleet management that we need. If we need a vehicle, we ought to be able to get it. If we have excess vehicles, then we don't need them, and we ought to give them to somebody else in state government who can use them.
The state plans to sell at least 600 high-mileage cars and trucks at auctions in the next year. Well, a Sioux Falls woman is injured tonight after being hit by a car. 18-year-old Mandy Eckhoff of Sioux Falls was crossing at 49th Street and Southeastern Drive in the crosswalk when a car driven by Richard Schlechter, also of Sioux Falls, began pulling through the intersection. Eckhoff was taken to a Sioux Falls hospital. The driver was issued a citation for careless driving. According to a reporting police officer, Eckhoff's injuries do not appear serious. And a 67-year-old Sioux Falls woman had minor injuries after rolling her car this afternoon at the corner of 26th Street and Wayland Avenue in Sioux Falls. Mary Dressing was eastbound in the 1400 block of 26th Street when her car hit a light pole and then a tree, which forced the vehicle to roll onto its top. Dressing was taken to McKinnon Hospital and treated for minor injuries. Authorities say it appears Dressing may have had a seizure just before that accident. Well, jury selection was completed and testimony began today in the trial of a prominent Watertown physician accused in a hit-and-run accident that killed a pedestrian. Dr. G. Robert Bartron has been charged in the death of 68-year-old Hugo Frentz last November. Frentz was walking along Highway 81 near Watertown when he was hit. A witness claims Bartron's white Cadillac left the scene of the accident. Police witnesses today discussed the discovery near the Bartron clinic of the car believed to be involved in that accident. State's Attorney Roger Eliason says the jury could get the case as early as Wednesday. 6 men and 7 women were selected for the jury in Bartron's trial. And on to another story, rather. Public gossip about the January murder of a cab driver in Stanley County may cause the trial of an accused teenager to be moved to another city. Circuit Judge Max Gore says media coverage of Michael Hare's murder has not been excessive, but he may transfer the trial of Sean Cameron Springer to Martin because of extensive local gossip in Fort Pierre. The 17-year-old Springer is accused of murder, kidnapping, and robbery. Authorities say Springer and 14-year-old Paul Dean Jensen Jr. of Pierre were arrested shortly after Hare was killed. Judge Gore has told prosecutors to decide by late Wednesday if a community attitude survey should be done or if they'll simply agree that the trial should be moved. Springer's trial is set to begin August 5th. Jensen's trial is set to start on September 3rd. New developments tonight in that fire that destroyed a church in Westbrook, Minnesota last week. Police say they have 2 suspects. They're 2 boys, ages 10 and 12. Fire investigators say they'll turn their reports over to the Cottonwood County State's Attorney to determine possible charges. The fire last week gutted the Grace Lutheran Church. Well, many of South Dakota's outdoor opportunities will be seen through a different light in the near future. Members of the South Dakota Department of Tourism today announced that the Outdoor Writers Association of America has selected Sioux Falls as their 1999 national conference site. The conference, which will be held at the new Sioux Falls Convention Center, will bring in nearly 1,000 delegates with special interest in outdoor recreation, conservation of natural resources, and vacation travel. Newspaper writers, photographers, authors, and artists will be among those who will experience South Dakota's outdoor opportunities firsthand and share their knowledge of the region with their readership and their viewers.
The map as an outdoor destination. It's not only just a place to come shopping. I mean, everyone knows that Sioux Falls has great shopping. Has a great business climate, but it also has a lot of outdoor opportunities.
Organizers say the direct economic returns of the conference could reach over $1.5 million, and the long-term economic benefits could exceed tens of millions of dollars. In World Watch tonight, things are not going well outdoors in the Southwest. Wildfires driven by high winds in the parched region are driving hundreds from their homes. Fires in Southern California, Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico have burned thousands of acres. One fire in Nevada was accidentally started with gasoline. It's threatening 100 homes. In an exclusive from NBC News, the government has found that tens of millions of cheap plastic mini blinds contain high levels of lead dangerous to children. Intense tests just completed show the blinds shed dust loaded with lead that's easily picked up by children and ingested. Parents with children under 6 are advised to remove the mini blinds and dispose of them. Studies show even slightly elevated levels of lead can cause learning problems. And Paula Jones's lawyer is hopeful of eventual victory, but a sexual harassment suit against President Clinton won't be going to trial anytime soon. The Supreme Court will decide first whether presidents are immune from civil suits while in office. The White House says it's pleased the court has recognized the importance of the issue.
Speaking of anniversaries, look at this young lady over here. 70 years old today. Happy birthday. Your name is?
Joan Hurdy.
Joan, where are you from? Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Sioux Falls. I'm sorry, I can't read. That's all right.
It's not printed too well.
That's all right. Happy birthday. Is coming to New York part of your birthday celebration?
Right.
Very nice. I hope you're enjoying our time. Thank you very much.
The Hardys say they watch the Today Show on KDLT every morning. Well, still to come on News 5 at 10, touted 3 people injured following a car accident in Sioux Falls. 2 cars collided at Madison Street and West Avenue shortly before 3 o'clock this afternoon. A vehicle driven by 88-year-old Milford Kongsley of Sioux Falls apparently failed to yield while crossing West Avenue and was struck in the driver's door, then pushed through the median. Kongsley died. His wife Elizabeth, who was a passenger in the car, was injured and taken to a hospital. Jared Sargent of Sioux Falls and his passenger James Lamfer were injured and taken to a Sioux Falls hospital as well. Another South Dakota driver is dead after a 1-car rollover accident near Alcester. 17-year-old Melissa Turner died yesterday morning when she lost control of her vehicle and it rolled. The South Dakota Highway Patrol reports she was alone in that vehicle. Well, the defense has already rested in the case of a prominent Watertown physician, Robert Bartron, who's charged in a fatal hit-and-run accident last November. The jury is expected to begin deliberations tomorrow. Bartron took the stand today and testified that he had no recollection of events surrounding the death of 68-year-old Hugo Frentz, who was allegedly hit by Bartron's car. Yesterday, prosecutors said test results indicate that alcohol or other drugs were not a factor in the accident. Today, Bartron testified that he did not stop at the scene because he was confused. Earlier today, a neurologist told jurors that Bartron suffers from a medical condition which results in blood loss to the brain. The trial continues in Watertown. Well, one thing that won't continue tomorrow, drinking alcoholic beverages at Wall Lake Park or beach. The new law signed today by the Minnehaha County Commission takes effect immediately, and if you're caught breaking it, you could face $200 fines and 30 days in jail. The only exceptions are for family reunions or large group picnics, but then you need to get permission from the Minnehaha County Commission and a special permit to have alcohol in the park or on the beach. But there still is no law prohibiting drinking in a boat on the lake. It's a different battle around Lake Madison, where residents are fighting to form their own township, but that fight has fallen to defeat once again. For the past 6 months, residents surrounding Lake Madison have been petitioning the Lake County Commission to let them form their own township. Currently, Lake Madison is divided between 2 townships. The citizens for a new township propose that portions of these 2 townships that directly surround the lake be made into one called Lake Madison Township. Today marked the 2nd attempt by this group to have commissioners accept their petitions. An attempt earlier this year was defeated for legal reasons. This time, the commission determined that a new township was extreme in resolving the concerns for lake area residents.
That were presented, it just didn't, it seemed like their expectations of the new township were quite high to me, that they'd be able to hire a constable, pave roads on a very small township budget.
Outbursts arose from the new township proponents after the commissioners made their decision because they don't think the commission is representing their needs.
Well, it's tough because remember the law says the people will determine how many townships they desire, how many they need and require.
The Lake County Commission today defeated the proposed township unanimously. One commissioner did abstain from voting because he owns property near the lake. The township proponents say they'll appeal that decision. Well, people in another part of Lake County are concerned with another problem, keeping the city of Madison from flooding like it did back in 1993. Following that flood, a study was conducted to determine possible flood prevention projects for Madison's future. But now, one of the recommendations that come out of the study is raising some questions and causing some controversy in and around the city. Andrea Barbour has the story from Madison.
It's pictures like these that remind the people of Madison what floodwaters can do to their city. So in an effort to prevent future flooding, a $1.8 million detention dam program is being proposed. Other recommendations have been made toward flood mitigation, but when looking closely at the possibilities, officials say the most economical long-term solution is to build a dam.
For the big rainfall, for the big flood, the detention dam is the only means of reducing that flow, controlling that flow through town.
The proposed dam would be built just north of town. Construction of this project will take 223 residences out of the floodplain, but others who live right in the area where the dam would be built say it will bring the floodwaters into their backyards.
Where we're standing right now is about 1,704 feet. The spillway in the dam will be about the 701-foot level. So all my outbuildings, you know, would be underwater, and, you know, it'd be close enough to the house where it would, you know, they wouldn't feel comfortable with us staying here.
But GILE says before he really begins fighting the proposal, he will listen to what the town has to offer him as compensation for forcing him to move. However, everything remains on hold for now, and the ultimate decision of whether or not to build the dam lies in the hands of the public. In Madison, Andrea Barbour, News 5.
Concerned people gathered enough petition signatures to send the proposed dam issue to a vote. That election is set for July 16th. 4 members of the same Minnesota family were laid to rest today. Friends and family gathered today in SIOUX Center to say a final farewell to the victims of a property line dispute last Friday. More than 200 people filled the pews at this Catholic church in SIOUX Center. The victims of the shooting were 41-year-old Warren Schlogel, his 39-year-old wife Marcy, and their 2 youngest kids, 12-year-old Jody and 11-year-old Eric. Their oldest girl was not home at the time of the shootings, and she is the only family member that survived. Last Friday, 72-year-old Paul Crawford shot and killed the family because of a disagreement over a boundary line between their property. After shooting the 4 family members, Crawford went home and killed himself. Moving on to world news tonight, at least 11 people are reported killed after a truck bomb exploded at a U.S. Air Force housing area near Dhahran, Saudi Arabia. U.S. officials say about 160 other people are wounded. President Clinton has vowed, quote, "The cowards who committed this murderous act must not go unpunished." Here in the U.S., assailant Theodore Kaczynski has been arraigned in a California courtroom in 4 Unabomber attacks, including 2 fatal blasts. Kaczynski pleaded innocent. The former professor could face the death penalty if convicted in the case. And in Atlanta, the weather's the worry for next month's Olympics. Dehydrated spectators, even more than dehydrated athletes. At last week's trials, it was a scorching 114 degrees on the track, 90 in the shade. Olympic organizers plan to have plenty of free water in hand all over the games. The Red Cross will have a multitude of patrols, but medical emergencies and packed venues could prove a challenge. Of course, in addition to drinking lots of water, organizers will encourage spectators to use sun protection. And it almost sounds like the spectators should plan on training as well as the athletes.
Yeah, really.
And I don't know, from the way it sounds, we should probably do some training for the weather coming up. Going to be kind of hot.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to maybe turn on your air conditioners tonight and let it run probably until Saturday. You ready for that, Ted?
Got mine running.
I certainly got mine running. Let's go to the almanac right now and show you where we started today. Started off at 61 degrees. Warmed up to a warm
palace for 2 new locker rooms. Also, the backstage area will be renovated. The construction is part of a $1 million renovation project. Previously, new seats, a sound system, air conditioning, and a basketball floor were added. The backstage area is expected to be complete for the Corn Palace Festival in September, and the locker rooms will be done by the first part of October. Well, when we come back on News 5, we've been hearing a lot about recycling mandates soon to be in effect. Tony Whiting of Millbank, Maury Forsyth of Brookings, and Dwayne Plooster of Corsica were in the building or an adjacent one when they were destroyed. Also injured were Jason Lurtz of Madison, the son of Lake County Sheriff Herb Lurtz. He received minor injuries. Also, Bobby Castleman of Ellsworth Air Force Base had minor injuries. About 35 people from Ellsworth are stationed at the air base in Saudi, helping enforce United Nations sanctions against Iraq. In World Watch tonight, a somber ceremony at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware, where the remains of 19 servicemen killed in the Saudi Arabia bombing arrived today. The Air Force band played taps and Purple Hearts were pinned to flag-draped coffins. President Clinton will attend memorial services in Florida on Sunday.
Meantime, the president and leaders of the other major industrialized nations say they're uniting to fight terrorism. They've agreed to boost cooperation among law enforcement agencies. Tomorrow, Clinton will seek tougher extradition guidelines and efforts to make it harder for terrorists to cross borders. And the Columbia astronauts are going for the gold in space. Hitting high above the Earth today, astronaut Chuck Brady carried a torch, with a fake flame of course, while taking part in a medical test. The space torch is due to meet up with the Earthbound torch next month when the flames make a run through Cape Canaveral. Well, Scott, sports, or I said that last time, didn't I?
Yeah, you